Hi students, and welcome to today's live IELTS class. My name is Adrian and I'm streaming to you from beautiful Victoria here in Western Canada. I hope that all of you are having a fantastic weekend so far. Again, welcome to our new members, Gokhan and Nelly. It's great to have you on board. Fuang, Angel, Elizabeth, Romelia, nice to see you in the class. Nipa, Owan, Ayush, good to have so many people with me today for this IELTS speaking part 3. Talking about objects of cultural importance. We just finished a part 2 speaking class that was talking about an object that you have that is important for your culture or represents your culture. I spoke about maple syrup. We heard about a famous instrument in the Azerbaijan culture. We heard about a famous scarf in the culture of the Indonesian, the Javanese. And we've heard about the evil eye in the Turkish culture as well from our students. And of course, many others. Domenico mentioned the pasta maker, but he is yet to tell us about it. Everybody, speaking part 3, the last part of the speaking section, I will give you sample answers, strategies, tips to maximize your band scores, to just really show your best communication to the examiner. This material is presented to you by aehelp.com for academic IELTS. Visit us there for the general IELTS. Check us out at gieltshelp.com. Those are the websites that power these live classes, and they are the websites we use all the time. So if you like these live classes, definitely check us out, aehelp.com. It's this website here, blue background. Click this big red button right there. That's just above my head. It's a one-time payment, doesn't cost a lot, lifetime access. You get all the practice exams, videos, strategies, and much, much more to get ready for these classes. For the general IELTS, it's the same idea, gieltshelp.com, green background. Click that big red button. Again, it's a one-time payment, lifetime access, and you are good to go. Students, we are an IDP affiliate. We're a British Council partner. We're an IELTS test registration center. We are here to help. I'm a certified British Council agent. Chen, Alexi, nice to see you in the class. Welcome to our chat moderators. You can ask them questions as well if you've got them. If you don't get answers to your questions in the class, send me an email, adrian@aehelp.com or admin@aehelp.com. Download, install our apps, Academic IELTS Help, General IELTS Help, depends on which IELTS you're taking. Download that one and link it to that website. So Academic IELTS Help links to aehelp.com, General IELTS Help links to gieltshelp.com. It's up at the top there, is doing that linking there. They will link. All right, students, let's get cracking. So after this class, we've got a few days of break from live classes, but definitely check out the videos on the channel and subscribe. And then on the 11th, I am starting up again with speaking part 1 for everybody, and then we'll do task 2 writing, listening for subscribers, and then we'll have speaking part 2, speaking part 3 for everyone. So lots to go there. And we've got this YouTube release for you right now. We'll have another one for you next week, but this one we just released. It's a great way to improve your English. Definitely check out this video, everybody. It's a great video. It will help you to improve your English. There's really good practice there, okay, if you haven't seen it yet. All right, Dylan, I think you're going to do fantastic. I would love to hear your feedback when you do your exam, okay? So after you've done your exam, please do connect with us and let us know your experience. Let us know how it went. We would love to hear from you, okay? I think you did a fantastic job in part 2 last class, so just be yourself and do the same. You'll be fine, okay? All right, IELTS speaking part 3, everybody. It's the final part. It connects to part 2. I want to do lots of practice with you this week. So quick tip, okay, for high scores, you want to answer, explain, and give an example. Always think, this is my answer because of this reason. This is a recent example to show you what I mean, okay? So that's the way you should be thinking, all right? We're going to get into the questions. I will give you more tips and strategies as we work our way through the class, okay? So we finished talking about an object in part 2 that's of cultural importance, and then the examiner says, let's talk about objects of cultural importance. What are some objects that reflect cultural importance? Give me some full sentence answers for this. Now, when it's objects, it's plural. Okay. Then make sure to say at least 2, maybe even 3 or 4 objects. Okay. So here we go. There are several commodities. I think Anahita used this word, and it was a good one, that encapsulate a culture, like traditional dress, musical instrument, historical artifact, or an item of utility. In case of Canadians, these include not only maple syrup that I spoke about in part 2, but also snowshoes, a canoe, or the top hat of a Royal Canadian Mounted Police officer. These objects are common and play an important role in everyday activities. I went snowshoeing with my friends last weekend. Okay? All right. So nice, fluent, complete answer, connected. Here I'm using an answer example explanation strategy. This is speaking, everybody. So speak and repeat, and I would love to see your answers in the chat as well, okay? We will be looking at sample answers from students. I will give you band score estimates, and you will have a chance to practice. Here we go. So speak and repeat. Right now, my goal is to give you an idea of what to do here, okay? So what are some objects that reflect cultural importance? And this is based on your answers in the previous class. Okay, so there are several commodities that encapsulate a culture, like traditional dress, musical instrument, historical artifact, or an item of utility. In case of Canadians, these include not only maple syrup that I spoke about in part 2, but also snowshoes, a canoe, or the top hat of a Royal Canadian Mounted Police officer. These objects are common and play an important role in everyday activities. I went snowshoeing with my friends last weekend. All right. Ayush has this to say. I see the first part, Ayush. I see the first part. All right. Good. Ayush says objects that reflect cultural importance encompass a wide range of artifacts and symbols that hold significant meaning within a society. They can include religious icons, traditional clothing, musical instruments, artworks, historical documents, architectural landmarks, cultural symbols, and ceremonial objects. Ayush, that is looking fantastic. If you can think of that, all of that, great. If you don't have that long of a list, that's fine. Ayush, example. Where's your example? Make it original. This sounds like Google told you, okay? You need to include an example. All right? Alexi, our moderator, has this answer. I consider national cuisine and national clothes as one of the most significant parts of a nation's culture. It represents the face of the nation, just as our Vishvanka that I have mentioned before, and borscht reflects Ukrainian hospitability. Yes, now borscht, of course, is a very delicious soup. You should mention that, Alexi, that I've mentioned before. And borscht, a very delicious beet soup, reflects Ukrainian hospitability. Yes, and very healthy at that, right, Alexi? Beet soup. Beet is a type of vegetable that grows in the ground. It's red. It's rich in iron. It's very healthy, especially if you run a lot like me. And the Ukrainians make a fantastic bowl of borscht. Maybe I'll have some this week. That sounds great. Domenico has this to say. If you haven't had borscht, everybody, I recommend trying it. Oh, it's healthy. It depends on how you make it, Alexi. But it's healthy. Especially if you make the vegetarian version. Okay. So, beet is very healthy. Beets are very, very healthy, people. All right, Domenico says, I reckon objects such as traditional clothing, religious artifacts, musical instruments, and art and crafts are considered to reflect cultural importance because they are often associated with the identity and values of a particular culture and hold significant historical, symbolic, and emotional value to the community. Like the pasta maker that I spoke of, as well as the iconic long Italian shoes, right? Got those in my head, Domenico. Those lovely Italian shoes. All right, some good answers. Students, some good answers. Let's jump to the next one. Is it important for a society to designate some objects as important for heritage? Give me a nice full sentence. Is it important for a society to designate some objects as important for heritage? Now, these yes or no closed questions. So here it's like, no, it's not because, or yes, it is because, right? Usually, students, in the IELTS exam, to get those high scores, you want to be on the positive side. In most cases, I mean, think about the question, right? But it makes sense in most situations to be on the positive side of the argument, okay? In this case, absolutely. Yes. I think it is vital for nations and communities to assign meanings to certain objects to reflect camaraderie or to reflect history and encourage camaraderie. when a group of people can identify with each other through certain symbolisms, it usually leads to cooperation and harmony. Maple syrup harvest definitely helps to bring people and communities together in certain parts of Canada. Okay? So remember I spoke about that maple syrup. Now, notice how I keep connecting to that, okay? Students, really practice that, connecting your ideas. That is a very, very, very effective way to boost your IELTS speaking scores, okay? It will definitely register in the mind of the examiner that, okay, here is a person who speaks fluently, clearly, they're using original language, and they're making a lot of sense. They're connecting their ideas, okay? So, one more time, speak and repeat, everybody. Is it important for a society to designate some objects as important for heritage? Now, if you don't know the word heritage, don't freak out, okay? The topic is still cultural importance, so you can probably guess that heritage has something to do with cultural identity or cultural importance, and it does. Heritage means the history of culture, okay? It's your heritage. All right? Okay. So yes, I think it is vital for nations and communities to assign meanings to certain objects to reflect history and encourage camaraderie. When a group of people can identify with each other through certain symbolisms, it usually leads to cooperation and harmony. Maple syrup harvest definitely helps to bring people and communities together in certain parts of Canada. Alexi, I like the beat version. And yes, it's B-E-E-T, not B-E-A-T. Okay. Beat. All right. Yes, Black Panther, heritage, history of culture. Okay, Elizabeth Jordan has this answer for us to this question. Absolutely. Culture is vital to maintain the importance about our history and pass down to our children, so we do not forget identity. And then here, Elizabeth, is where you want to include an object that was passed down to you, such as the dress my grandmother passed on to me, which reminds me of my heritage. Okay, so make that connection. Okay, very good. Nice. Okay, so positive answers from the positive side, usually the better way to go, okay? All right, here's a very good question. Let's do this one together before we get into some volunteering, okay? Here we go. What can younger generations do to preserve objects of cultural importance? Give me a nice full sentence answer for this one. Shimanto, thank you. I appreciate that. Angel, camaraderie means like a feeling of belonging to the same family and working together. Okay? To be companions, Angel. Camaraderie. Okay? To work together, to have a feeling of connectedness. All right. Here we go, everybody. I'm going to answer this and then give me a nice full sentence answer. Okay? All right. In order for youth to keep safe objects and heirlooms that are important for heritage, they should learn about them and understand their sentimental value. They should even be encouraged to make them so they can empathize with the hard work that goes into many of these keepsakes. When a woman is tasked with sewing a traditional Afghani dress, they will surely keep it clean and in a safe place for many years to come. Right? This is paying a bit of homage to Anahita's part 2 answer. All right, so here we go. What can younger generations do to preserve objects of cultural importance? In order for youth to keep safe objects and heirlooms that are important for heritage, they should learn about them and understand their sentimental value. They should even be encouraged to make them so they can empathize with the hard work that goes into many of these keepsakes. When a woman is tasked with sewing a traditional Afghani dress, they will surely keep it clean and in a safe place for many years to come. Right? There you are, Anahita. Yeah, so when we learn, when we understand, when we empathize, then we tend to safeguard, right? As the saying goes, easy come, easy go. So if we don't understand cultural importance, and one of the very sad occurrences in the world today, this is just an anecdote of mine, is that oftentimes the younger generation are not keeping a lot of these cultural items safe because they haven't learned their value and they think that these are just old trinkets or old objects, when in fact it's a good time for collectors. Let's just say that. I'm one of them. Okay. All right. So let's see what some of our other viewers are saying. Rabishta says, by designating certain objects as important for heritage, society can ensure their preservation and protection for future generations to appreciate and learn from. These objects can serve as a tangible... I don't see the rest of it. I'm guessing you ran out of space there, Rabishta, but you're definitely on the right track. These objects can serve as tangible reminders of a culture's core values. Now, here, example. Okay, we want an example here. Students, examples in this case, especially when we're talking about this kind of a topic, like cultural objects of cultural importance, examples become critical. Okay. Anna has this to share with us. Okay. And it says, first of all, they need to be responsible for their actions. They need to save buildings such as temples, palaces, and libraries. They need to understand that these objects tell people about culture and strengthen our roots, which essentially enables us to be proud and motivated and to reach success. Yeah, absolutely, right? Anna. So when we have objects that we associate with and we identify them as part of our culture, part of our roots, then it gives us strength and motivation, right? Okay, very good. Students, I think you're all doing great, and we've been practicing throughout this week to improve our English, use some new vocabulary, repeat and improve fluency. So what I want to do is give as many of you a chance as possible to speak. So I'm going to ask you to volunteer for speaking. Okay, now this is how you do it. Alexi has put the instructions in the chat, so have a look at what Alexi's put in there. Okay, you go to the website. I just put the website into the chat as well. Alexi has the full instructions for you. Once you have reached this web destination, open that in a new page, of course, from YouTube. And then once you're there, you have to register an account. If you don't have one, you can create a free one with the green button, okay, the try demo, or you can create a premium account with the red button, which really doesn't cost a lot and it's worth it, with the red button. Then you can enter your My Student account and you can interact with me and with other students. You can do that through the Student Partner Speaking option. Click on that. Accept the terms. You're responsible for your words and your actions. Students, use it for IELTS. Be polite. The goal is English, right? You will see a list of amazing individuals in here. You will see me in here as Master, all uppercase, easy to identify. And then next to every name, including Master, there's a blue envelope. Okay, click on that blue envelope and write a quick message like, choose me. Choose me. Okay. And then I will see your volunteering pop up and I can reach out to you and we can go from there. So let's do it. Here is Q. Let's see if Q is with us today. And Domenico, I haven't forgotten about you. Fong either, our premium students. Q. Q, are you ready? All right. Let's do this. Q says yes. Okay, here we go.
Hi, sir.
Hi, Q. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing quite well also. Thank you for asking. Q, can you tell everybody where you're from?
Hi, everybody. I'm from Vietnam.
All right. Q's in Vietnam. All right, Q. Did you follow the part 2 class?
Yes, I did.
Okay, cool. What cultural object did you think about that's important in Vietnam for that class?
I think it's definitely outside the traditional costume of Vietnamese women.
Okay, so you're in agreement with Phuong on that one, I guess, right? I think that's what she was mentioning as well. All right, Q, let's do this. Are you ready for some questions?
Yes, I am.
Okay, let's talk about objects of cultural importance. What are some objects that reflect cultural importance?
I think that there are numerous objects that can embody the cultural significance, such as dioramas, musical instruments, or maybe some historical objects. In Vietnam, we have outside, which I just mentioned in part 2, and it really speaks to Vietnamese women because it represents the beauty of Vietnamese women, and it is really beautiful.
Have the types of objects that show cultural significance changed over the centuries?
Yes, I think the types of items that represent the cultural significance have have changed dramatically over the last centuries. Um, I think that there are a lot of modernized items such as outside. Like in Vietnamese culture, we modernize it from a more traditional costume, and I think it's also true for other items such as historical instruments, such as a mask.
Why do you think this happens?
I think it's happened for a reason because throughout the history, people have changed a lot on in the way that they think and in the way that they live in their daily basis. So it's definitely there are some significant change in the uh, important culture objects.
Tricky questions, right? Challenging. That's part three. Part three is challenging. It's so part three, everybody. I mean, it's testing not only your English but your ability to think in English, right? That's the tricky part of it. Part three. That's why part three is so challenging, because you have to think in English, and the only way to really get a great band score like a 7, 8, 9 is to be able to think in English while you're speaking. And Q, I think you're doing a fantastic job so far doing that. So I could tell that you're a little bit nervous, and you're nervous because you're like, oh, this is tough. Like I need to make sense here, but it's hard. And that's totally okay. That is okay. And it comes with practice. Here's a really good trick. Okay. All right.
Yes.
See what you're talking about. So before you say it, see it. Okay, it's like this. I should have this like a tattoo or something on me. No, maybe not. But see it before you say it. Okay, so see it before you say it, and that's not always easy because visualizing can be tricky, especially if we're not sure of what it is that we're going to say. Your band score Q would be, I think, easily a 8. Okay, I would say it was getting there to the very good English. Okay, so 7 is good, 8 is very good, definitely between a good and very good. Your pronunciation, your fluency, natural language, those are an 8, 8.5. You have very nice pronunciation, especially pronunciation is quite challenging for a lot of Vietnamese people, but you do a great job of it. The coherence, the content, and that affects, of course, the lexical resource and the grammar a bit as well.
Yes.
That was a little bit lower because it was hard to think of ideas, right? So I'm going to give you some help here. And this is for everybody. It's not just for Q, so pay attention, everyone. This is an important trick for everybody. Okay, so what are some objects that reflect cultural importance? You answered this one quite well. We practiced this before, right? So you said, there are numerous objects that can embody. Notice this really good word. So I like to emphasize the positive parts. Embody, encapsulate, encompass. All of these words are very similar. They basically mean capture, okay, or contain. The cultural significance, such as dioramas. Diorama, I'm surprised you knew that word, Q. Where did you learn that word, diorama?
I learned that this word from a YouTube channel about traveling,
Okay.
and like in European countries, and they have some very like delicate dioramas about the life of the like farmers.
Can you tell everybody what a diorama is?
Um, Diorama is a like it's like something like the, for example, a woodwork that people carve. It has people, and it's kind of, I don't know, but it's kind of hard to describe. It has a lot of things like animals, house, people
Okay,
in it. So
keep it simple. So it's basically a miniature sculpture of a situation. So some of the most common dioramas are famous battles that were fought in history. So for example, in the US culture, you will find a lot of dioramas that represent their fight against the British for independence, where you have little tiny soldiers on one side that are the British, and then the American independence soldiers on the other side, and they're fighting each other with little cannons. So dioramas are basically little mini sculptures or models of famous historical events or situations. Yeah, absolutely. Very nice. Nice vocabulary, though. Diorama, I commend you for that one. That's not a word that, that one impresses me even when it's used by a native speaker. So good for you. All right. And then you use the really nice expression here, speaks to Vietnamese women. So speaks to means that it's important for and it's representative of. So it shows, it displays, it represents. Okay, so learn these words, students, and like Q is doing, it's very smart picking up these words from context. Excellent. Yes, good for you. All right, Q. The question, so I jumped a big one here purposefully because I wanted to challenge you. I know you have good English, so I wanted to challenge you. Students who are in that band 6.57 range, definitely always challenge yourself to speak better and better. So I asked this question here, Q. Have the types of objects that show cultural significance changed over the centuries? And that's a tricky one, and definitely the answer here is yes, they have. Change is certain. Right? Make sure you use the present perfect Q. So yes, they have right away. Just yes, they have. They have changed a lot over the past few hundred years. That will give you time to think. Okay. So everybody repeat after me. Q, repeat after me. Yes, they have. They have changed a lot over the past few hundred years.
Yes, they have changed a lot over the past 100 years.
Okay, repeat the present perfect. Like really show the examiner that you caught that present perfect and that you can use it. So yes, they have, and we often do this in natural English where we will emphasize it, especially when we think there's a lot of truth to what is being said. So yes, they have. They have changed quite a bit over the past few hundred years.
Okay, yes, they have changed quite a bit over the past few hundred years.
Yes, very good. Okay, and then while you're saying that, so while you're agreeing, because you know the agreement's there, even though you're not sure quite what yet, okay, but you're agreeing, while that's happening, you have to visualize it, right? Now, whenever you're talking about change, and this can be used for a lot of different topics, so not just cultural importance, it can be used for education, it can be used for business, it can be used for environmental protection, so for many, many, many topics, what you want to think of change over time, especially when we're talking about hundreds of years, is technology, right? So the evolution of technology, the change in technology changes the world around us, including objects of cultural significance. Now, Q, here's the magic, okay? And this is for everybody. Think about what you're saying. So Q, you talked about the traditional dress for Vietnamese women, right?
Yes.
Okay, so in this case, you want to immediately visualize that and picture how that traditional dress has actually changed compared to a few hundred years ago, right? Okay.
Yes.
And I'm just going to take a guess here. And if I can guess it, and I'm not even a Vietnamese woman wearing this dress, then you can definitely do it, okay? But I'm going to take a guess here. So can you tell me the name of this dress one more time, please?
It's called áo dài.
Áo dài. Okay, I can't spell it, but I'll do my best here. So, technology has had a great influence on objects of heritage, such as the áo dài. I'm just going to try to spell it phonetically, which was made from silk up until the mid 1900s, but is now made of other fabrics, including polyester. Furthermore, it used to be long because women were much more conservative. But as the world and Vietnam has become more liberal, the modern alzai is often a very short version up to above the knees. Is that true?
Yes.
Okay, I'm just guessing. See, I'm just guessing based on
Your guess is right.
but my guess is right? Because it makes sense. It's not only for Vietnamese traditional dresses, but other dresses around the world as well, right? So if you see it, you know it, right? So when you can see that dress, so you see the traditional alzai that would have been worn by your great grandmother, right? And you compare it to some that are maybe worn in pop culture today, then you're like, whoa, that's a really different dress in many ways. And I could keep going, like with the motifs and the pictures or images that might have been on the dress back then versus now as well, right? So there's a lot of content there when you have the vision in place. Does that make sense, Q?
Yes.
Okay, so let's try this one more time. I'm just Q's getting a great chance here, but this is for everybody, of course, right? So I'm getting Q's response here to help everybody understand this concept. So Q, I'm going to ask this question one more time. Give me this nice full sentence answer, okay? So have the types of objects that show cultural significance changed over the centuries?
Yes, they have. They have changed quite a bit over the past few hundred years. Technology has had a great influence on objects of heritage, such as the alzai, which were made from silk up until the mid 1900s, but is now made of other fabrics, including polyester. Furthermore, it is used. It used to be long because women were much more conservative, but as the world and Vietnam has become more liberal, the modern alzai is often a very short version up to above knees.
Okay, that will get you a band 9 answer. Right, and you might even need a sip of water after that one, right? Okay, Q. So what I want you to do, and all of those students out there who are band 6 and above, what I want you to do is see and speak. See and speak. If you're not seeing what you're saying, it's going to be difficult to create coherence, okay? Does that make sense? Q.
Yes.
Okay. All right, Q, thank you so very much for volunteering and helping me explain that very important point. I hope you have an awesome rest of your week.
Yes, you too. Thank you, Adrian.
Okay, bye, Q. All right, that was Q. And hopefully everybody was with me through that long and critical explanation of seeing before speaking. And I see some thumbs up there, okay? So especially when you're talking about such a visual and unique item like a traditional dress or a traditional musical instrument, right? Okay. Phuong, let's see if Phuong is there. I have to refresh my page here, students, just to get my connection back. So I'm going to refresh the page, and you do the same, okay? And then volunteer again. I'm looking for different people all the time, so don't give up, okay? I had to just do a quick, yeah, so sometimes, you know, if you're hanging out here for a long time, a lot of people pinging the servers, you might have to reconnect. Okay, let's see. Phuong, are you there? I'm pretty sure Phuong's there. Okay.
Hi, sir.
Hi, Phuong. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. How about you, sir?
I am doing great. All right. So, of course, like Q, you are also from Vietnam, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And are you picturing the Alzai?
Yes. It is just a traditional custom in my country, and I usually wearing it on a special occasion like graduation, sir.
And does yours look the same as what your grandmother or your great-grandmother would have had?
Uh, to tell you the truth, when I'm wearing IELTS, I'm similar to my grandmother.
Okay, so you've kept the tradition alive, right? All right.
Yes, sir.
All right, good for you. Okay, so here we go. I'll ask you a couple of questions. Give me some nice full sentence answers. Here we go. What can younger generations do to preserve objects of cultural importance?
Um, some common ways that younger generations can do to protect objects of cultural importance is come to my mind right now, such as holding special events like workshops to raise public awareness or restoring historic buildings by both funding and volunteer. I've been attending a dozen workshops about preserving Vietnam traditional customs and work as volunteer since 2021.
What can happen if these cultural artifacts are lost over time?
Hmm, that's a tricky question. Let me take a moment to think about that. If the cultural artifacts are lost over time, it will have a negative impact on human civilization. I mean, people can no longer explore social change like economic development or technological progresses or have a deep insight into the past. So, to understand the past, we have to understand the artifacts of the past first.
I'm going to stop there. That was very good. I want to focus on the second one. I think that was a very nice, strong 7.75 for sure. Going towards an 8, I think. So 7.5 to an 8 even. Definitely the good to very good range, for sure. A little bit more work on the pronunciation, a little bit more on the content, maybe giving an example here of a part of Vietnamese culture that has to be preserved to maintain an understanding of the past. So can you give me an example of maybe a building or a place in Vietnam that is very old and is being preserved to remember the past?
I think một cột Tigers in Hanoi, capitals, has been reserved for future generations, sir.
Yeah, I know that there's like a merchant village somewhere too in Vietnam that's a UNESCO heritage site which has been preserved to remind people of the important trade that happens between people using boats and water in Vietnam as well. So I can't remember the name of it, but anyway, yeah, absolutely. So examples, okay? Keep that in mind. Okay. I really liked how you slowed this question. So you said, that's a tricky question. Let me think about that for a moment. And then you used the question. You said, if cultural artifacts are lost over time, and because you slowed down the language, you created some really beautiful English, okay? You said it will have a negative effect on human civilization. And I think that was great, okay? So bringing the word civilization into the concept of losing cultural artifacts is brilliant, because civilization for sure is maintained through certain cultural artifacts, certain types of buildings, certain types of clothing. And then you said, so to understand the cultures of the past, we have to preserve their artifacts. And that was really, really well explained with very good English, okay? That was very well done. So keep in mind, Phuong, do what you're doing. Okay, I think you're definitely on the right track. So more and more practice. Phuong, have you found some speaking partners on the website?
Yes, sir. I have a chance to speak to Chayani and others candidates from Uzbekistan or India.
Awesome. That's great. That's great. So you're enjoying that, right?
Yes, sir.
Hopefully. I'm hoping you are. All right. Phuong, thank you so much for volunteering. Keep it up, okay? Keep practicing. You're doing great.
Okay, thank you, sir, for your feedback. I have to see you next week.
Okay, bye, Fuang.
Bye, sir.
All right, that was really good. I'm really glad that many of you are actually, coming and speaking and talking to each other and using it to interact with each other. That's super. Romelia, I can see that you're being very persistent and patient, which is awesome, and I want that to pay off. So, Romelia, are you ready? Romelia, also one of our regular students, and I am looking for students that come in. So, Pathan, I do see you there, and I don't think we've talked. So, hang in there. You're the next on my list, okay, Pathan? So, stay with me. Okay.
Hello.
Hi, Romelia. How are you?
I'm okay, thank you.
All right. So we're jumping from East Asian culture and North American culture we've had so far in the class, and we're finally landing in Europe, right?
East European culture.
We're getting into some Eastern European culture. All right. Because Romelia is from Romania, right?
Romania, exactly.
And has your family been in Romania for generations? Like, are you like deep-rooted Romanian?
Exactly.
All right. So
100%.
born and bred, generations and generations, right?
Yeah.
All right. Okay, well, let's just jump into it then. Let's find out a bit. So let's talk about objects of cultural importance.
Okay.
Have the type of objects that show cultural significance changed over the centuries? Romelia, did I lose you? Are you still there? Oh,
Now yes.
Okay.
Yes. I've lost you.
okay. Disturbance in the forest. I'll ask one more time. Have the types of objects that show cultural significance changed over the centuries?
Okay. Cultural objects that hold significance have changed throughout history. Objects that were once considered important may not hold the same value in present time, and new object may now have cultural significance. The reason for this shift may include the changing definition of culture, maybe advancement in technology sector, and why not globalization, leading to the creation of new objects that hold cultural value.
Can you give some examples?
For example, related to technology, smartphones can become more and more an item with cultural value.
What would be an object that may have been more valuable in the past for your country but is no longer considered as important?
The first thing to cross my mind would be a black and white TV, which now is obsolete. Hello?
Do you think there will be different kinds of items in the future that will earn importance that are just thought of as common objects today?
Yes, very much so. The ever-changing nature of culture, the continuous evolution of technology suggests that new objects will take over and will gain cultural significance in the years to come. For example, as I was mentioned, the smartphone will have become an indispensable communication tool, as well as virtual reality technology could be a significant artifact in the future. Important in various industries, including entertainment, education, maybe communication. And as well, sustainability is more and more a priority. So object promoting it, such as reusable bottles, eco-friendly products may become culturally valued
Okay, I
in the
will
future.
stop there. All right. Good. So, Romelia, tricky questions, right?
Yeah, very
All
tricky.
right. So, kind of the same advice, and I think this is a really good point to just focus in on for today's class. And as you kind of head into the weekend and the start of the fresh week, to really practice for your speaking and your writing. So, of course, the big difference between speaking, writing versus listening, reading is listening, reading, we're being fed information. When we're speaking, writing, we're producing information, right? And
Yeah.
we have to always come back to this very important fact and this point that humans are visual creatures. Okay.
Yeah.
And what I've said this before, that we as humans, like our hearing or our smell or even our taste, is actually quite terrible compared to many other animals, right? Like really, like, like dogs, bears, and a lot of other animals, mammals, of course, can hear better than us, can smell better than us. So, but biologists will tell you that vision really has made humans human in a big way. So our ability to see the world around us with our big, beautiful eyes makes us kind of special. And so it has to be an integral part of our thinking and our communication. It's like, it should always come first. Why am I, saying all of this, Romelia? Why am I talking about all of this, right? So when I'm listening to your answers, and I think you have very good English. So I think, you have good words, you have good grammar. So what's holding you back is content, right? Like generating quick, good content.
Ideas.
And well, you can call it ideas, sure. You tackled this question as well, have the types of objects that show cultural significance. And you did a fairly good job answering and explaining about the shift in culture, and you used some good language, right? And then I was forced into the position of asking you, well, can you give me some examples, right? And you'll have this experience in the IELTS exam where when you're doing a lot of answering and explaining, but no examples, especially in part 3, then you will definitely hear the examiner say, well, can you give me some examples, or like what, right? So they'll push you to that kind of tangible, visible.
I have to admit, it's not my favorite type of question. That's why I wanted to put myself in this uncomfortable situation.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you have to, because in the real IELTS, the better you speak, the more uncomfortable questions the examiner will ask. And for those of you who have taken the IELTS, you know this, especially if you have good English, that by the end of part 3, you get some pretty weird questions if you're giving good answers, because the examiner is really testing, like, how well can you think and speak in English at the same time, right? And that's the instructions. They get these instructions, Romelia, like when they're trained for the speaking section, they are instructed that if they feel the student is a band 7 or 8 and better, ask more and more difficult and stranger questions to see the limits of that student's speaking ability and thinking ability, right?
Makes sense. Yeah.
Right. So when this question comes up, right? So quick thinking is important. So when this question comes up, have the types of objects changed? And when we talk to Q, I mentioned technology, right? So technology is a good thought here. And you realize that. You're like, okay, black and white TV versus smartphones and so on, right? Don't just get stuck on technology. Think about technology in the other major areas of human existence, right? So environment, for example, or music, for example, right? So think about culture and music, or culture and the environment, right? For instance, okay? So when I visualize that, Romelia, and I'm talking to you, I would say that I have a strong feeling plastic straws and cups will have cultural significance for the next several hundred years as a representation of the bad choices people made during the 20th century to hurt the environment with these kinds of products. Would you agree? I think plastic straws might become collectible in 20 years' time as a cultural item. Okay? If you have a plastic McDonald's straw, keep it safe. It could be worth a lot of money in a few years.
Yeah.
It's true, right? Think about dance. So think about the types of music that hold cultural value now. Pop culture, right? Michael Jackson, shiny shoes, right? That are new parts of cultural heritage and importance. Global culture versus local culture. A good one, Romelia, for instance, I know in Romania, there's a very traditional kind of clothing that's worn, right? What is that
Exactly.
called? What is that called?
That blouse.
Yeah, what is that blouse called?
Ear. Ear.
Yeah, right. You said before, and it has that embroidery, right? It has that very nice
Yeah.
hand embroidery. Now, if I'm not mistaken, Romelia, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but the EA was actually worn fairly regularly in the past in Romania,
Yeah.
right? So people would wear it like kind of weekly, right?
Yeah, especially on weekends when they have a special event, a party or something
Community
like this.
gathering, going to church, something like that, right?
Yeah.
Now it's quite rare, right? Like people will put on their EA, but it's, like once a year or a couple times a year. It's not like in some places, right? So generally speaking,
Some of
right?
them try to be in keeping, but yeah.
You get what I'm saying. So again, visualizing this, right? Like visualizing our childhood when we used to see this clothing around us a lot more frequently, and visualizing it now when it's becoming less common, right? So it's losing its place in everyday life, right? Mm-hmm. So we can say this. So when I visualize it, and this is again what I'm coming back to is the visualization here, Romelia, just repeat after me. So during my childhood in Romania, people wore the traditional EA blouse frequently each week. Nowadays, I only see it worn once in a blue moon. It's losing its cultural importance. Try it.
Now, in the past, someone wearing traditional Romanian blouse was an unusual occurrence, whereas now is more few and far between this kind of object.
It has become far and few between.
Yeah.
Try it, Romelia. Try it, Romelia.
It has become
I'll say it one more time.
Few.
It has become far and few between that I see people wearing this traditional blouse.
It has become far and few between that I see people wearing this kind of blouse.
Why am I using the present perfect?
I feel.
Change over time, right? Present perfect emphasizes that change over time, right? So that's why it's so natural to use it here. So again, Romelia, keep practicing. Okay, you've got really good English skills. You do. And I know you're very critical about your English, but you don't need to be. You've got good English skills. Just really see it before you say it, okay? That's the key phrase of today's class. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Romelia, I hope to talk to you again next week as well. Bye for now.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye, Romelia. That was really good. So again, thank you for helping me with that. Let me just reconnect here to the speaking. Pathan, I know you wanted to have a chance here, and I don't think we've spoken to Pathan yet. So Pathan, are you ready? If you're there, Pathan, if you've hung out this long and you're still there, let me know. Owan says, at Romelia, thumbs up. Yeah, I know it's I'm pushing, right? I'm really pushing you to be the best version of you when it comes to speaking English. All right. Lots of ringing, Pathan. I wonder where you're at. Elizabeth, part 3 is definitely challenging. Yeah. And the better you do, the more challenging it is. Okay. Pathan, I'm not sure what's going on with your connection there, so you might want to check that out. Let's reach out to Batman. Batman, I'm sure, has a couple of objects of traditional or cultural importance, like the Batmobile. So let's see if Batman is still there. Are you there? the bat cave, the bat boomerang, the bat utility belt. Batman has, by the way, jokes aside, comic books, superheroes have become an important part of modern culture. All right. Just calling to see if we can reach out to Mr. Bruce Wayne. All right, Bruce Wayne is unavailable. The bat phone is just ringing and ringing, but no pickup on the bat phone there. So you got to check the bat phone connection. It might only be able to access the commissioner's office. I don't know. You might have to adjust it. All right. Students, I am going to stop there for today because I've got a video shoot to get to. I'm going to be filming a really cool speaking video in the next hour here with a very amazing IELTS candidate, and that video will be released next week. So I'm going to put a stop to it there. We've had some laughs, we've had some fun, we've had a lot of amazing learning about culture and objects of culture around the world. So thank you so much for all the shares in the 2 classes today. It was truly a pleasure to learn from you and to learn with you. Review the classes, subscribe to the channel. I will be posting the new schedule very, very soon for the upcoming week. Make sure to note new words that you've learned. There are some amazing words. Diorama, I was not expecting to hear that word today, I'll tell you. All right. Check out aehelp.com for academic IELTS and gieltshelp.com for general IELTS. Visit the websites, use them every day, sign up for the premium version of the course. It's worth it. They are the tools that power these live classes. Students, thank you so much for being with me, and I wish you a safe, healthy, and happy rest of your weekend. Much love to all of you, wherever you are in the world right now. Take care. See you soon. Bye.